Chiefs Kingdom. We are in the thick of the free agency period. It is peak off season, except for maybe the draft. But I wanted to go over and get everyone caught up to speed on moves that have been made and then things I'd like to see the Chiefs do going forward. So this is Gary McKenzie. I'm your host here at Gridiron Lines, a show here on the RGR Football Network, as I like to call it. The best area or best place on YouTube where you can get Chiefs content, RGR Football. Not necessarily speaking about my video or my videos. I'm talking about Ryan and Dan and Seth. They're so good. And I'm just lucky and happy to be a part of this group of wonderful gentlemen who like to talk about Chiefs football. So I've got a rundown here of what has happened in free agency so far for the Chiefs. The tampering period, the legal tampering period, and then free agency, all that good stuff. So just going to go down a list here, update everyone, make sure that everyone has the same news that I have. So it is Thursday night, 8:15 p.m. So all of this information is as of Thursday night, 8:15 p.m. Pi Day, March 14th, 3:14. So if there are any other fellow Pi Day celebrators, let me know down in the comments. But without further ado, let's get moving. So Nick Allegretti, guard center for the Chiefs, one of my favorite, players for the Chiefs over the past several seasons. He's been a player who's been able to fill in some difficult situations and always held his own, always did well. He should be a starter, and he will be a starter with the Washington Commanders because he signed I believe it's a 3-year deal with Washington. And he just never got a chance to start in Kansas City for a long period of time because of guys like Trey Smith and Joe Tooney being ahead of him. So really good deal for Nick Allegretti. He deserved that contract. I'm happy for him. Sad to see him go because I really did like him on this Chiefs team. But he's one of the players that the Chiefs lost. Deion Bush re-signed with the Chiefs. He's going to be with the Chiefs for 2024. Guard center Mike Caliendo signed with the Chiefs. He'll be with the Chiefs in 2024. Linebacker Jack Cochran and linebacker Cole Christensen both signed their tender offers. They will be a Chief in 2024. Moving down to Jody Fortson. So the Chiefs declined to sign Jody Fortson. They declined to give him his tender offer. He became an unrestricted free agent on March 13th. It didn't take long for another team to swoop in and pick him up. He was signed by the Miami Dolphins. Willie Gay, I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall with Willie Gay. He wasn't going to stick around in Kansas City. I think he wanted to move closer to home, and he also wanted an opportunity to get more regular playing time, which he'll get to do that in New Orleans. So the Saints picked him up. He'll be closer to home. He'll have more of a starting role. Really grateful for what Willie Gay did in Kansas City. One of the more athletic linebackers I've seen in a while in terms of getting sideline to sideline, just blistering speed for a linebacker. And I wish him well in New Orleans. He got I think a $5 million per year deal, which honestly speaking, I kind of would have been happy if the Chiefs would have paid him that much, but apparently they decided to part ways. Defensive end Malik Herring, he signed his tender offer. He'll be a Chief in 2024. Cornerback Najee Johnson signed his tender offer. He'll be a Chief in 2024. Chris Jones signed a huge extension, 5-year, roughly $35 million per year. Really, it's a 3-year contract at about $33 to $35 million per year value, $95 million guaranteed. So Chris Jones bet on himself in a way, and he won. And I think there's a lot of people, kind of had this mindset of it's either Chris Jones or L'Jarius Sneed. You have to pick one or the other. I don't think that's the case, especially after Patrick Mahomes restructured his deal. I think the Chiefs could have both of these guys in 2024. But when push came to shove, the Chiefs valued Chris Jones more than they valued L'Jarius Sneed. And in fact, they've given Sneed the opportunity to try to request a trade. I think Kansas City's doing that because they want to see what other teams are going to want to pay L'Jarius Sneed. They don't know what his market is. They want to find out. And maybe they do know what they're comfortable paying L'Jarius Sneed, and they want to see if other teams will blow them out of the water or if it'll be pretty safe. I think L'Jarius Sneed wants to stay in Kansas City. So I guess while we're at it, L'Jarius Sneed was given the franchise tag. It's about $19.5 million next year. They have plenty of cap space. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think L'Jarius Sneed wants to stay in Kansas City. And the reason I say that is because there was a mic'd up moment with L'Jarius Sneed and Tyreek Hill when the Chiefs were playing the Dolphins in the playoffs. And L'Jarius Sneed told Tyreek Hill, "You should have stayed your dumb bleep in Kansas City." So I'm a big believer that people speak from their frame of reference. And when a player says something like that to another player, it's pretty obvious that L'Jarius Sneed is glad he's in Kansas City. And he was telling Tyreek Hill he was an idiot for leaving Kansas City. So that kind of shows L'Jarius's frame of reference. He thinks it's good to be in Kansas City. So I think he wants to be in Kansas City. I think he's motivated to be in Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a little bit of a discounted deal to stay in Kansas City. But at the end of the day, if the Chiefs offer him $17 million per year or $16 million per year, and then a team like the Steelers or some other team that comes out of the blue wants to offer him $21 per year, I mean, I wouldn't fault Sneed for taking an extra $5 million a year, but only time will tell. I think the whole Chiefs giving him permission to request a trade is more about trying to find out what other teams are going to want to pay him, so they have a good idea of what his value is. Moving on, after Chris Jones, Mike Pennel, good old Mike Pennel, signed with the Chiefs. He'll be a Chief in 2024. Irv Smith Jr., free agent acquisition from the Cincinnati Bengals. He agreed to terms with the Chiefs. So Irv Smith Jr., he is known as a pretty good tight end too, and has some speed for a tight end, and could be an interesting piece for Andy Reid in this offense. Interesting backstory. Irv Smith Jr. was a tight end at Alabama, and I actually have a coworker whose nephew was another tight end at Alabama at the time, and he knows Irv Smith and thinks the world of him. Says it's one of his favorite people. So from that, kind of like 3 degrees of separation. I've heard really good things about Irv Smith, the person. So I like him on the Chiefs team because of that, as well as the fact that he can play. It's a pretty low risk, mildly high reward pickup for the Chiefs. And they need a tight end depth. So they've got Noah Gray, and they've got Travis Kelce, obviously. Blake Bell is a free agent, and they haven't made any effort to re-sign him, so maybe Irv Smith is going to be Blake Bell's replacement. Tommy Townsend, he was let go. I wouldn't necessarily let go. He wasn't signed by the Chiefs, and he was picked up by the Houston Texans. And the Chiefs, I think, are going with Matt Araiza, who they picked up for a really cheap deal, around $725,000 per year. Much cheaper than the $3 or $5 million that Tommy Townsend's getting with Houston. And so Matt Araiza was nicknamed the punt god. And before he even had a chance to play a single game in the NFL, there were rape allegations against him. And, typically, you hear those allegations and you don't want anything to do with that player on your team. That's just human nature. But it turned out that he was completely exonerated, had proof, evidence that he was not involved with that horrible situation. And so I, for one, am glad that the Chiefs are giving him a second chance, an opportunity in the NFL. Being falsely accused of something has to be one of the worst experiences. So I'm glad that the Chiefs gave him a chance. And apparently he's super talented. So we'll see what happens with him. But much cheaper than Tommy Townsend, so they saved a little money there. Nextly, Drew Tranquill signed a 3-year deal worth about $6 million per year. Love that signing. I love that signing. Drew Tranquill was a Swiss Army knife for the Chiefs defense at the linebacker position last year. And I remember whenever he played for the Chargers thinking, who is this guy? He is all over the field, always causing problems. And I just can't believe that the Chiefs were able to get him at, $5 or $6 million per year. Definitely one of those players that brings a lot of value to the team based on what he's getting paid. So really like that move. And last, I have James Winchester. James Winchester, he's spent 10 years in the NFL as a long snapper and looks like he's going to have at least 11 because the Chiefs want to bring him back for 2024. So that's everything in terms of free agency moves that have happened as of Thursday night at about 8:15 p.m. Next, I want to talk about what I view as needs for this Chiefs roster. And I think the first two are pretty obvious. So the Chiefs need a quality left tackle. They also need, I believe, 2 wide receivers. I think they need either 2 twos, 2 wide receiver 2s, or a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 3, a low-end wide receiver 1. But I do believe Rashee Rice can fill in that wide receiver 1 role. But the Chiefs are going to need to find 2 things in terms of receivers, I think. And one of them is a receiver who can be on the outside, who can catch passes on the outside effectively. And the other is a burner. So they need a guy that can stretch the defense. And fortunately for the Chiefs, there are a lot of really good wide receivers in this draft. And I know I told you all that Rashee Rice was my draft crush last year. I don't get them very often, and as of now, I haven't gotten any crushes on wide receivers this year. But I do like the fact that there's a lot of pretty talented wide receivers in this draft. And I like the chances for the Chiefs picking up one of them. Another need I think this Chiefs team has is that they need some help along defensive interior. I know Chris Jones is in there, but as of now, I think that Mike Pennell is the only guy that they've really brought back. They're losing Tershawn Wharton, or as of now, they're losing Tershawn Wharton and Derek Nottie. So those are 2 guys who picked up a lot of snaps last year. So they need to replace them. I don't know if there's going to be players in the draft available. There are some free agents, that are interesting. Obviously Derek Nottie, you could bring him back. He's had some good snaps for the Chiefs over the years. Tier Tart, 27 years old. Then you got Rakeem Nunez-Roches, who's 30, old friend alert. I think a lot of these guys could pick up some snaps for Kansas City. It's just going out and getting them and not breaking the bank. Next need for the Chiefs, they need a backup quarterback. And there's a lot of interesting guys out there for backup quarterback this year. The one thing that made me laugh is that Brian Hoyer is a free agent right now. And it's like, this guy hasn't retired yet? I mean, he's still around. He's 38 years old, living the dream. But more power to him. But I couldn't believe that he was still listed as a free agent. But I'm not interested in the Chiefs picking up Brian Hoyer as a backup quarterback. Now watch him go and sign him. But I don't see it happen. Some guys I thought were interesting, though. I think that the Chiefs really value backup quarterbacks who have some experience. They've played in the NFL. They're not entirely green. And there's a few quarterbacks that I think fit that role, fit that criteria, that might be a good fit in Kansas City. And the first one of those, I think, for the Chiefs is Teddy Bridgewater. He's 31 years old, and, I think would be a good fit for what the Chiefs like to do and what they like to do in the backup quarterback position. Another one I have is Ryan Tannehill. So last year was a disaster for him, but he's 35 years old, kind of going towards the end of his career. I don't believe he could be a starter anymore. The problem with Ryan Tannehill is going to be how much money he wants, because the Chiefs aren't going to want to pay him, $10 million per year. They're looking for a guy they can get for less than $5 million per year or somewhere around there. And then nextly, you have Josh Dobbs. He might want more money too. So it's slim pickings in the backup quarterback market. It almost makes me want the Chiefs to kind of go and get Blaine Gabbert again, even though when he got his shot in that one game, it wasn't that pretty to me. The Chiefs won the game because he was using his legs, but I have not been a huge Blaine Gabbert fan at the backup quarterback position. And I guess if it's the worst, if push comes to shove and they can't find anyone else, and these three quarterbacks here that I've listed are way too expensive, then I guess I've got no problem with them going after Blaine Gabbert again. But he's not my number one choice. Then another need I think the Chiefs have is defensive end, and I mean realistically speaking, every team could use more pass rushers. And I don't care if you've got four good pass rushers; you can always use another. That's just my philosophy on defense. And then moving on to depth needs. So these are positions the Chiefs need for 2024 that really just need depth. They need more bodies. That's a running back, offensive line, both interior and exterior offensive line. And then defensive interior, they could use a little more depth, as well as defensive end. So right now, the Chiefs have $16 million in cap space, roughly. They've got 7 draft picks, a first, a second, a third, a fourth, 2 fifths, and a 7. And kind of looking forward to things that could happen this offseason for the Chiefs and in the immediate future. I've got best case scenarios. So I kind of listed these maybe in order of importance. And the number one most important thing I think for the Chiefs in terms of team building, this is team building, salary cap management, is that Wanya Morris or a rookie yet to be named is playing snaps for the Chiefs in the starting roster in 2024, and they're playing at a high level. So if Wanya Morris or a rookie can fill in at left tackle for the Chiefs, it's going to save the Chiefs a ton of money against the cap space, as a left tackle is traditionally the second most valuable player in terms of contract on your team. Now, the wide receiver market has kind of started to blow that up a little bit, maybe change things there. But if the Chiefs can find a way to save money at that left tackle position, that would be really good. It would open things up elsewhere and make it so that they could save money and spend it on other positions. It just gets so much harder whenever Patrick Mahomes is making $60 million a year. Even though he restructured his contract, so now he's only hitting about $30 million against the cap. But the Chiefs need young players at valuable positions to step up and play well, and left tackle is one of those. Another thing that I want to happen for the Chiefs, I think could be the best possible thing, the second best thing, is if the Chiefs find 2 quality wide receivers, either in the draft or free agency or a mixture. I've seen some rumors the Chiefs are interested in Mike Williams. He's 29 years old. I'm going to be 30, I think, next season. And so, yeah, I don't know. People want to knock him for his injuries. He only played a handful of games last year, but before that, he had played 3 seasons in a row with 15 games. So I don't think that you can really say Mike Williams is a total injury liability. Sure, the risk is there, but it's there with a lot of players. And the Chargers field, the Chargers team as a whole, they just have a lot of injuries. And maybe it's a training staff, maybe it has something to do with the condition that their field's in, but I wonder if Mike Williams would still have those injuries if he left the Chargers. So I'm interested in him, and he could fit a need for the Chiefs because he can catch the ball on the outside. Which is one thing I think the Chiefs need. The 2 things I think the Chiefs need at the wide receiver position is a guy that catches the ball outside the numbers, and then a guy that can be a burner, stretch the defense. I think if they get those 2 things, they'll be in really good shape. So if the Chiefs are able to do that in either the draft or free agency, then things are going to look really good for them. If they're able to do it in the draft, that's better because that's saving more money. And then the third best thing I think could happen to the Chiefs in terms of roster building, salary cap management, is if Felix Anudike-Uzomah turns out to be good. And he didn't get much play last year. And, I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason for that. He just wasn't ready. He needed to build strength. Who knows what the reason for that was? George Karlaftis, 21 years old, was thrown into the fire immediately. So it makes me wonder if the Chiefs thought Mike Dannett was playing better than FAU or if something else was going on. But if FAU turns out to be good or they draft a quality pass rusher, I think that'll really help the Chiefs in terms of roster building, salary cap management. Next year, Patrick Mahomes' cap hit is going to be $66 million, I think. So the Chiefs need to continue to find value at a number of positions, and I'm hoping the Chiefs can find value at left tackle, wide receiver, and pass rusher. Those are the three positions that cost the most money. So if you want to have a quarterback that's going to be paid $66 million against the cap, you got to find some ways to cut corners in terms of your salary cap, and those are the three places where you can cut the most. So that's what I think will be the best situation for the Chiefs if they're able to get value players from the draft still on rookie deals at those three positions. But that's what I think about the salary cap, trying to organize the roster. Let me know in the comments what you think the Chiefs need to do in terms of free agency. Do you want them to stay put? Do you want them to go make another splash? What do you think the Chiefs need to do in terms of getting good value at certain positions? What positions do you think they can find good value at? For me, and I'm probably going to talk about this later, but you heard it all last year. I love Patrick Mahomes with a good defense, so I'm perfectly happy if the Chiefs continue to really focus on the defensive side of the ball. I like that version of the Chiefs, and I think next year they're only going to get better. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'm always curious to hear your input, and then if you haven't done so already and you want to, hit the like button down there somewhere and subscribe to RGR Football, especially if you like Chiefs football, because that's all we do here. We talk Chiefs with a really good group of guys. And, Ryan and Dan and Seth, some of the best that are out there. So hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get 30,000 subscribers. Any way you can help us do that, we appreciate it. But this is Gary signing out. You'll have a good weekend.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.